Workshop efficiency myths. Why wait jobs don't equal faster work. Join passionate automotive trainer and coach Andrew Uglow as he tackles myth number 6 about the common misconception that wait jobs lead to faster work. In this episode, you'll learn why hovering doesn't speed up repairs, how context shifting impacts diagnostic work, and discover practical strategies for managing customer expectations. Along the way, Andrew shares some great stories, including an innovative solution from Brazilian restaurants that could revolutionize how workshops handle interruptions, and why the phrase "waiters are going to wait" is more profound than you might think. I'm your co-host Anthony Pearl, and this is the Frictionless Workshop Podcast. Let's get cranking. Andrew, we need to get into myth or true myth number 6. Now, I love this. Waiting for a job equals faster work.
If only.
Well, it's if only. Because hovering over somebody is definitely going to make them do that job faster, isn't it?
This has got to be the biggest complaint I hear from technicians over and above everything else. There is a belief that's held by everyone. It's held by service managers. It's held by customers. It's held by the customer service professionals at the front counter staff there, that if we make this a wait job, the job will happen faster. And it's like, well, ask any technician and they'll tell you no. And this was one of the things that befuddled me when I first moved out of the aftermarket world into the dealership world, because they're two different worlds. One isn't necessarily inherently better or worse than the other. They're just different, right? It's like Apple versus Samsung. Well, everyone has their preference. I prefer the dealer world. I think that they have far better support and far better resources and produce a far better result, personally speaking. But that's not to say that you can't get a good result in aftermarket. So moving into the dealer world, I was given a wait job, and it was like the job's an hour, and it will take me an hour. I'm not standing around, marking time. I'm head down, tail up, get stuff done, do it well, do it properly, do it once. I'm not doing this job a second time. Professionally, and at the 35-minute mark, the service advisor's here, and he's going, "Andrew, how much longer on that job?" And I've looked at my watch and I go, "It'll be 25 minutes." And he's surprised. He's going, "What do you mean it's going to be 25 minutes?" I said, "Well, it's going to take me an hour to do the job." Do you think that I normally work slow, and because you give me a wait job, I'm going to work faster because it's a wait job? Or do you think that I can suddenly work at 120% of my capacity and still maintain the same quality? Which one of these do you subscribe to? Because there's a threshold, right? Now, can I go faster? Can I shortcut? Absolutely. Can I probably get away with it? Sometimes. There's going to be ways that I can do things that are they wrong? No. Are they good practice? No. But I'll get the car out quicker. Well, what do you want? Do you want it done well, or do you want it done fast? Pick one, because this is the situation we're in. And so there's this myth, this true myth, that because it's a wait job, it can be done faster. And the reality is that, are there areas that can be legitimately finessed? Yes. Yes, there are. There are some things that I can go, look, on this car, I can do this and this, and I think it'll shave 10 minutes off. But really anything more than that, and I put the quality of the job at risk. Because for most technicians, and particularly if it comes to services, they're already working at 120% efficiency. And so you give them a wait job, and it's like, well, I can't go any better than this, otherwise I'm going to diminish the quality. And then you're going to jump all over me because the car came back with a fault, or I left a spanner somewhere, or I forgot something, or I didn't put a sticker in it, or I left a handprint that I didn't see, or something like that. And I'm going to get jumped on to try and keep you in good books with the customer. Well, how's that work for you?
And more often than not, when you rush something, that it ends up being that the problem is, or even if you overpromise and how long it'll be, if you say, yeah, I'll be able to do this within half an hour, knowing full well that it should take 45 minutes to an hour, the chances are you actually find out that there's a much bigger problem there. And what you thought was going to take 45 minutes to an hour that you were going to try and do in half an hour is actually going to take you about 3 or 4 hours.
I'm a huge fan of calling a spade a spade. If it's an hour's job, you tell the customer an hour and a half. And I don't mean to be rude when I say that, but there's logistics on either end. There's paperwork, there's parts, there's unforeseen stuff. someone in the workshop breaks a nail and we have to carry them out, or something horrible, things that no one had any idea that are going to impact the customer. And so let's under promise and over deliver. And if I finish that job and it's done in 50 minutes because I had a great run, I had no problems, I had no issues, I had no distractions, I had everything worked in my favor, we look like a hero to the customer. Hey, look, Anthony, it's our tech's pulled out all the stops. We got some extra people on it. We got it done in under an hour for you. The flip side of this, if I do it faster, the customer might expect a discount. It's like, hang on a minute, no, the job is an hour. That's what it costs. And so there's ways that you need to discuss that with the customer, because otherwise customers are going, well, hang on, you took 20 minutes. Yeah, but I had 4 people working on the car. So there are ways to shortcut this, but let me say that better. There are ways to finesse this and to speed things up, but you don't want to be shortcutting, because shortcut is the hardest, most difficult, longest way between 2 points. It absolutely is, every single time. I wish I had $1 for every time I've been screwed over.
It just conjures up memories of car trips, whether you were the kid or you've got the kids in the backseat of the car. Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
How much longer?
And, can't we go any faster? No, the speed limit is this. And yes, if we use Waze, it might give us a shortcut that might shave a couple of minutes off, but we'll be going through a whole lot of back streets and it won't be as much fun. Are we there yet? No, we're not there yet. And we'll be there when we're there.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I'm a big fan of being very honest with the customer. This job is going to take this time. Whether you're waiting for it or not waiting for it, that's the time. One of the technicians who was in my class recently because this always comes up in the training, like without exception, this will come up at least once. He said that waiters are going to wait. That's why it's called a wait job, because you wait for it. You wait for me to do the same work that I would normally do, just that you happen to be in the customer lounge or the coffee shop next door or wherever you are whilst I do the job. It's not going to take me any less time to do it well. And the last thing the customer wants is to have to come back. The last thing the business wants is to have to come back. That's crazy expensive. Rework is the most expensive job in a workshop. The other element to this, and this is one of the deepest frustrations I think particularly diagnostic people and senior technical people experience, is the how much longer. So that they're working on a car and they've got, maybe they've got a weird problem, maybe they're chasing a noise, a sound, or whatever it is, or there's some operational issue or performance issue with the vehicle, and so they've got their head buried in all of this data. They've done all of this research, they've done all of this work, they're working through all of the different variables, and there is a lot, and they're eliminating things and they're tracking their progress, and it's all sitting in their brain. And then Andrew comes up and goes, Anthony, mate, how much longer on that one? Customer's waiting. Or, Andrew, how much longer? The customer's going to be here at 4 o'clock. And I have to drop all of these pieces that I have, and there is multiple pieces that I have in my brain. I have to put them down somewhere. I then have to go and do a subjective assessment of where I think I am in my diagnostic process to where I think completion might be, because I don't know yet. Otherwise, I'd have fixed it already. And then I have to come up with a number, because Andrew isn't just going to accept, it'll be a moment. No, I need a number. So I've got to arbitrarily whip a number out of somewhere and go, it's going to be 2 hours. And now I'm going to be held to that regardless of what else I find on the car. And then, of course, Andrew runs away, and poor Anthony now has to go and pick up, drop all of these pieces and these assessments that they did, which was quite a complex process. Pick up all of the different pieces of where you were up to. Usually it involves a whole bunch of backtracking. Did I do this? Did I do this? All right, I remember the test. Yeah, that's right. And get back to where I was up to so I can now progress forward. And if they didn't waste at least 15 minutes, I'll go, you paint me green. I don't know. It's called context shifting. And it is a massive drain on mental resource. And it delays the process, particularly if it's a complex problem. It delays it significantly. It's like walking up and poking someone in the eye and then expecting them to do a vision test. It's like the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, it's so interesting that this whole process is, about trying to set the right expectations with people, but how to manage it as well. And I think that, what I've noticed is, again, from a customer point of view, when you go in for a standard service, there are many of the places now that will offer some kind of transport. Usually it's a bus that will drive you back around to certain areas. And and that's obviously to avoid people hovering and waiting. But by the same token, I looked at that and I've gone, by the time you get me back to where I need to be and I settle back in for 2 minutes, I'll get a call telling me to come back. And now I've wasted what I could have been just sitting in the coffee shop next door and working.
Yep.
I've wasted, a couple of hours in driving back and forth. So I get why they offer it. And I get that that's a convenience for many people who can, physically be in an office or somewhere else reasonably quickly, but it's not always the best solution. So I think that's one of the hardest things must be for workshops and car dealerships is saying, well, what do we do to stop the waiting and the hovering? Because it is a problem. And setting expectations is one thing.
Yeah.
Trying to disperse them is another. And I don't know that they have necessarily nailed the best techniques for both of those. The Frictionless Workshop podcast is brought to you by Solutions Culture. For details on how to get in touch with Andrew, consult the show notes below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Now, back to the podcast.
Like I say, installing customer expectations, myth number 5 is super critical, and do that before they show up. Like don't wait till they're happy smiley faces at the counter and then try and do it. But you might have some success, but you're going to be far more successful if you do it beforehand. The second part is diving a little bit deeper. Let's eliminate those interruptions. Like if the job's going to be an hour, it's an hour, and the service advisor or the workshop controller is more specifically, the controller is the person who does the questioning. One of the other things, particularly if it is a diagnostic job, is I don't know if you've ever been to a Brazilian restaurant.
I've seen them, haven't been to one.
Arguably some of the best food I've ever had. The irony was the first time I went to a Brazilian restaurant, I was taken there by a German gentleman while I was doing training in Indonesia. And so a German guy took an Australian guy to
Brazil. No, I haven't been. I'm gonna put it out there and saying not just me, but many of the people listening, probably the majority of the people listening out there, have not been taken by a German person to a Brazilian restaurant in Indonesia.
No, can I?
That's fairly obscure.
Just a little bit quirky. Yeah. The net result was they cook their stuff over charcoal, and it's awesome. It is absolutely some of the most succulent food you'll ever have in your life. And they have a whole all of the your lamb, pork, chicken, fish, like everything, all of the stuff. And they're on these big long skewers, and they come around to your table and they carve off bits. And on the table you have this cylinder. One side of the cylinder is painted green, the other side of the cylinder is painted red. And when you want more food, you turn it from red to green, and they just rock up and keep feeding you food until you go into a food coma, or turn the cylinder round the other way, and now it's red, and now they won't come to your table. You've seen that work for diagnostic people, whereas I'm right at the crux of something really important. If you interrupt me now, it's going to delay the job. It's going to potentially cause the job to be a failure. They have this little cylinder that sits, it's like a stuffed toy thing that sits on top of the car. And it's red and it's green. And if it's red, you don't interrupt me. I don't care. Unless the place is on fire, you don't interrupt me. Okay, that's about the only excuse, all right? It's like, hey, Andrew, you need to get the place is on fire. Okay, interrupt me for that. That's okay. But otherwise, don't. But if it's green, that means, okay, now I've got some mental faculty. I've got some space here that I can go and assist you with your issue. But if I'm red, don't bother. And I think certainly in terms of, it's not hard to implement. Like you can, goodness knows, there's a million different things in the workshop you could paint red and green or hang from mirrors or however you want to do it that would facilitate this, that would stop that how much longer customers waiting, because that context shifting is massively expensive. And again, going back to moving upstream from that, going to the whole, let's install the customer's expectation. This job's going to take this long. You can wait for that long, or you can go somewhere else and do stuff for that long, but that's how long the job wants to be done. So do you want it done right, or do you want it done fast? And that's you maybe don't have that conversation as bluntly as that with customers, but that's ultimately what it gets back to. And I guarantee you 99.9% of the time the customer will go, I want it done right.
Absolutely. I mean, certainly as being a customer, you want it done right.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of...
There would be very seldom would be there be an excuse to go, no, just do it quickly. This just needs to get me from here to here.
Yep.
I think that would be very, very rare. So I love the fact that, this sixth myth has actually referred us back to some of the others as well. But I think what we should do now that we've been through the six that we said we would over these number of podcast episodes is probably go back and do a bit of a summary of them all, because I think the main lesson out of all of them is that some of these may be small little things, but the compounding of them can have a huge implication, both in terms of, customers, the staff, and the opportunities then for the business to grow because of these six things that people just get wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And they compound, right? It's not like I have this little bit of... I mean, we talk about friction. Friction is the stuff that saps your energy, that makes what would normally take a small amount of energy to produce a reasonable result. Now it's going to take an enormous amount of energy to produce a suboptimal result. And so these myths, these true myths, are the things that cause the friction. And they start out with effectively what we believe. If we believe that not spending money does in fact equal saving money, well, that's not going to serve us. It's not going to work for us. The reality is that there needs to be strategic spending. We need to think about that discretionary spend in a strategic way, and it needs to be outside of incentives. There needs to be no other influence on it other than how do I spend this money in a way that makes my team and my workshop more efficient? If I can answer that question accurately, I'll get some fantastic results out of that, and to budget for it. Myth number 2 was that action equals effectiveness. If only. Correct action equals effectiveness, and I can't take correct action unless I have a strategy and tactics to what I'm going to do. And in order to do the right thing, I need to be thinking the right things. And so it really hinges on the quality of my thinking. Poor quality thinking, poor quality actions, poor efficiency. It really is cause and effect. Myth number 3, knowledge equals application. Again, wouldn't that make life easier? Andrew, we've just told you what to do. Now we expect you to do it. Oh yes, I can do that. I can just magically pull the skill out of thin air, or I'll just adjust my entire way of being and belief system to conform to the action that you're expecting to me. But yeah, like that's ever happened. Now, if there's a really close alignment already, of course it's going to happen. But if there's not, I'm going to get a variance, and I'm going to be someone. Andrew, we've told you time and time, and no. Knowledge is not the piece that determines behavior. If it was, we wouldn't have half the problems that we do. Behavior is an echo of belief. And so if I want to change behavior, I've got to go after the belief, particularly if there's a gap there. If they're the same, I'll be fine. But how do I know until I test? Myth number 4, anything on the job card equals quality information? No. Quality information has characteristics, and those characteristics are very simple. They are: quality information is explicit. Quality information has been tested, as in I know what the customer means when they make that claim or say that statement or describe that fault. I'm not speculating, I'm not guessing, I'm not hopium. I know because I tested. And the last part is it's always actionable. There are some descriptions, some verbs, some operation that is described in that quality information that allows the technician to go and test for it. Myth number 5, meeting and exceeding customer expectations versus installing them. Why wouldn't you install them if you had the opportunity to literally download into the customer's brain what they can reasonably expect? And I'm not just talking about the common things, don't scratch their car, don't leave your coffee cup in it, all that sort of stuff. Don't leave dirty, they're a given, that's minimum viable product, those sorts of things. I'm talking about the time, the cost, the quality, all these sorts of things, the variables that are going to cause the challenge. Well, let's set the customer's expectations around what they are rather than let the customer listen to goodness knows whose voice that may or may not be correct. let it be your voice, your workshop's voice, setting the expectation for your workshop rather than some forum online. That's going to serve you a lot better. And lastly, of course, wait job does not equal faster work. It just absolutely positively doesn't. And I can hear all the technicians going, yes, that's so true, because that's arguably one of their biggest frustrations.
I think that has beautifully wrapped up all of these things. And as you said, the compound of all of these does create friction. And, what we'd love is for people that have listened to these and been able to take a few actions as a result of this. Let us know what you've been able to do along the way. Have you been able to share these true myths amongst the team? And what difference has it made, or is it going to make to the business? Just the little things, because I think there's lots of little nuggets along the way in each of these episodes that is going to give people something that they can immediately take action for and change, I guess, the way that their workshop functions and the way that the expectations of the clients will be. And, the compound effect of and that's, I think, the important thing here. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, but there's the compound effect of all of these myths having a negative impact, but the compound effect of fixing them and the difference between the two is massive. And that's where turning a business around and really making a huge difference with some of these little things that you can do by setting client expectations and managing clients along the way, spending money, as we talked about early on the right equipment that's going to ultimately, drive greater efficiency and save you money and do benefit and benefit for you. Do those things, see what difference it makes, because we would love to get some feedback on what you've been able to do.
Yeah. When we do any technical training with technicians, or arguably with sales professionals and service professionals as well, one of the questions that we ask right at the end is, now that you know this, what are you going to do about it? Like, don't get me wrong, it's lovely to know it. It's like, oh, gee, that was really useful. Oh, great. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to change? And this is why we talk about low-hanging fruit. Some of these things are super easy to implement. Change in policy, change in process, change in technology. A lot of the technology to do a lot of the things that we've spoken about already exists in the workshop. Well, let's use it. Let's have it serve us instead of have it work against us. And, lots of little things are the difference that makes the difference, right?
And I think don't fall into myth number 3, knowledge equals application either.
Absolutely not.
I think that we've given you the knowledge here, but the application isn't always straightforward. And I can certainly vouch for the fact that get in touch with Andrew, because if you want someone to help you with the application, then he's the man, and you'll definitely get a lot of value out of that. And I think it is important to reach out. Just because we've given you some of the knowledge here doesn't mean you can easily implement all of it. Some things you definitely can do. Don't be afraid to reach out and make sure that is happening, because it'll make a huge difference to your day-to-day running.
For sure. Open to that.
Andrew, thank you so much for all of these myths in this one, and I can't wait to come back for the next series of episodes of the podcast, and we look forward to everyone's company.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for your time, Anthony, and thanks everyone for listening. It's been a pleasure to virtually be with you.
Thank you for listening to the Frictionless Workshop podcast. For details on how to get Andrew working with you and your technicians, take a look at the show notes. There's also a link to some special content you can access. I'm Anthony Pearl, reminding you to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.